Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 18th Feb. The news items that we have picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 13. We'll look at them in detail. But first we'll look at an item from 17th Feb. This is Britain's moral failure. So what is this? This is regarding Dubs asylum scheme which has been discontinued. So what was this Dubs asylum scheme actually? It was initiated last year only in 2016 due to the initiatives of Elf Dubs. So Elf Dubs is a Labour Party member in British Parliament, and he himself as a child was rescued from Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia in 1930s. So this Dubs asylum scheme was regarding accepting around 3,000 unaccompanied children into the country out of 90,000 stranded in migrant camps. So this is regarding the EU refugee crisis. That is, European Union is facing an influx of refugees from West Asia, presently Syria especially. So from here migrants are taking a risky route through the Mediterranean Sea and entering into European Union. So here in European Union, then there are migrant camps which have been set up, and each country has to take up some initiative and take up some. Under European Union, there are regulations, norms of how these migrants would be divided amongst various countries. What would be each country's responsibility under EU? But as you know, Britain has already decided that it would be leaving EU, that is Brexit, as we know it as. So then even UK's responsibility under EU are nil. But then this was a scheme which was initiated on the insistence of members of parliament in UK itself, as we see the example of Elf Dubs too and others who supported him. So this was the plan, that Dubs asylum scheme will accept 3,000 unaccompanied children. Now this unaccompanied means these are children who have migrated into EU, but they are unaccompanied, not accompanied by an adult. So such children have also come. So that is why this scheme was an initiative, but now it has been stopped, and till date only 350 children have been accepted in UK. And it has been decided to stop this scheme. So this is UK's reluctance to assist and take in migrants. Financial aid, yes, they have provided, but taking in migrants is something which they have completely resisted. There's also this Dublin dilemma. This Dublin dilemma is actually regarding Dublin rules. So Dublin rules are under European Union. So in that, the rule says that the European country in which the person claims for asylum is first lodged should be responsible for the asylum claim. Means that the country, like presently in this West Asia migration, the migrants are coming from West Asia through the Mediterranean Sea and entering these countries here along the Mediterranean Sea, and they are Greece, Italy, Malta and Bulgaria. So these countries are also facing their own economic crisis too. So then taking in asylum, they are responsible because they are making the asylum claim is first made here. They come in here. So that is, these countries are responsible for taking into consideration the asylum claim and fulfilling him. Whatever. If they want to give asylum, they would provide. If they don't, then they have to deport these people to other EU countries. So that was the idea, that Dublin rules was in place. But then presently UK, even under former Prime Minister, present Prime Minister is Theresa May, under former Prime Minister to David Cameron, he had completely upheld his Dublin rules, because under Dublin rules then UK's responsibility is reduced significantly. So if it is not accepting, they are not responsible for settling claims also. So that was Dublin rules and Dubs asylum scheme, which has been ended too. Also, there is provision that if a child migrant has a relative residing in the country, in European Union, say like in UK, then under it, the child should be reunited, or the child should be united with that family. So that provision was also there. So under this also, UK has united some children in UK families, but then this has also been decided to be ended now. So they don't want any migrants coming into UK. It's clear, not even children, not even unaccompanied children. So this is regarding Britain's moral failure. Next, we look at current affairs for 18th Feb. So the first news item in 18th Feb is government junks border wall plan. So this is regarding the central government's plan to build a border wall. along India-Pakistan border, along the international border specifically, around 179 kilometers of international border in Jammu and Kashmir would be walled. So a wall would be built. So this was a plan put forth by UPA government in 2013. But presently, the government has junked this plan, means it has ended this plan. This would not be gone ahead with. Because of course, Pakistan also raised its objections in United Nations that India is trying to convert a working boundary into a quasi international border. So this, why is this position being made? We'll see, because where is this border and what is it all about is important. So you can see here, this is the border wall, 179-kilometer wall. Out of the 210-kilometer international boundary, this 179-kilometer wall was proposed. So what is this international boundary to? You should know. This is the Radcliffe line you see in red. So this was a Radcliffe commission which was set up by the Britishers to decide the boundary between India and Pakistan. So it was decided that India and Pakistan would be two separate countries. Partition would take into effect. So Britishers had established this commission to decide the boundary. This Radcliffe Commission announced its award on 17th August 1947, after independence. So till independence, people did not know that in which region, especially in this region, Punjab region here and here in Bengal region, they didn't know which part is in India and which part is in Pakistan. So there was no clarity. So the crisis which happened during partition and the riots which happened were, even one reason was because of this. Because if it would be clearly known beforehand, then there would be movement across the border, this decided border, which would take place gradually and people would settle in, and then when independence would come, they would be in their own countries where they wish to be. But now, since after independence partition was announced, the governments had already taken control in each of these states, and the migration which took place resulted in a huge riots. So that is why Britishers are also blamed for these riots. So this is the Radcliffe line you see. So it was West Pakistan and East Pakistan which was formed. So Bangladesh was also formed here. So both these boundaries were given by Radcliffe Commission, and these are known Radcliffe Awards. So they are also known as Radcliffe line. Right? But then you can see Jammu and Kashmir was a princely state, and Jammu and Kashmir had not decided where would it lie, whether it would join Pakistan or would it join India. It had actually decided to stay independent, because again this was another point, that Britishers gave all the princely states a right to stay independent as well. You can join either India or Pakistan, or you can stay independent. So Britishers said, we are leaving everyone free. Do whatever you want to do. So that was the status then. So that is why this whole crisis has also emerged. So again, Britishers blamed for this. So this Jammu and Kashmir, so this is the boundary till here. So now in Jammu and Kashmir, what happened, you must be knowing, Maharaja Hari Singh finally had to, in a crisis situation, accede to India, that he decided Jammu and Kashmir will become part of India, because Pakistan had covertly introduced its forces here. So these had already entered up to this region, and line of control which is there presently is the line, LOC as you call it, is the line till which Pakistan was able to enter into Jammu and Kashmir. So this part is called POK now. So this is Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and this is the LOC. So this is the working boundary presently actually. So this is the working boundary is understood, because now the status quo has been maintained. So this part of Jammu and Kashmir is with Pakistan, this part of Jammu and Kashmir is with India. India claims the entire of Jammu and Kashmir, and even Pakistan claims the entire Jammu and Kashmir. This Aksai Chin region, you should know, this is with China. It occupied this during the war, 1962 India-China war. So now presently this part, the international boundary which we are talking about, is this small region here. So here you can see this is not LOC. So this is the international boundary in Jammu and Kashmir, and this part is still considered as a workable international boundary by Pakistan, because it is claiming entire Jammu and Kashmir. Because it says Jammu and Kashmir issue is not resolved yet, because there was supposed to be a plebiscite conducted there. Then people should decide where do they want to join. So it still wants some solution on the entire Jammu and Kashmir. So how practical and effective that would be is another question. And that is why it raised its objection at UN. So this was one point. The other reasons why we have junked this border wall plan is that even the army raised its opposition. It said that it would result in hurdles in the forward movement during military operations. So if there's a wall and forces are clashing and there's a military operation plan, then how would it allow forward movement? So that was another point which army had raised. And the third point is that unlike the LOC, which is sparsely populated, international border region is densely populated. And people, this is fertile agrarian land and people are not willing to let go of their land. So it is very difficult, land acquisition became difficult to have the border wall put into effect. So that is why this plan has been junked. But now government is planning to have a comprehensive integrated border management system. So this will be an integrated system comprising of human resources, means officials, people, sensors, networks, intelligence and command and control systems in place, so that any infiltration attempt is clearly brought out and action taken against it. So these will be technological solutions now put into effect, not a physical border wall, but a smart fence as they call it. So smart fence means a virtual fence with sensors. That is what has been decided now. So this will be a 24/7 surveillance now. Then the next news item is no concept of national song, Supreme Court. So this was a petition filed before the Supreme Court that it should direct the government to frame a national policy to promote and propagate national song. So this national policy on national anthem and national flag is already there. They wanted national song to be added to it as well. So this petition was refused to be intervened on because Supreme Court said that there is no concept of national song. National song actually refers to Vande Mataram. National anthem is Jana Gana Mana. So Supreme Court said under the fundamental duties, under Article 51A, there are 11 fundamental duties. So out of these, the first one is about the fundamental duty on the citizens that they should abide by the Constitution, respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the national anthem. So in this Article 51A, there is no mention of national song. That is why the Supreme Court said we cannot give any such direction to the government as such. Then the next news item is from Mosul to Kabul. It's a health offensive. So this is regarding India's medical diplomacy. So we have had Mosul in Iraq, Kabul in Afghanistan. So all these war devastated countries whose healthcare infrastructure is also devastated have been assisted by India in health medical facilities. So many soldiers from Iraq have got treated in India. So this is regarding Artemis Hospital in Gurgaon, which has treated many Iraqi soldiers since 2014. Also from Afghanistan, we have had many people treated in India. Another example is about Iman Ahmed from Egypt, who has come to Mumbai for treatment. She's very fat. So this is a bariatric surgeon who is treating her. Here also assistance was taken from the External Affairs Minister to get a visa for the treatment. So this is regarding medical diplomacy, that how India is providing medical facilities to all over the country, all over the world, to countries all over the world. So this, the earliest example which is given to of modern times is of Dr. Dwarkanath Kotnis, who went to China during the Long March period. So this was during even the Sino-Japanese War. So Sino here means China. So this was from 1937 to 1945. So during this time, many wounded Chinese soldiers were treated by him and his team. So he died while treating these soldiers too. So he is revered in China as well till date. So this is one example of earliest modern times medical diplomacy. Also Mahatma Gandhi's ambulance corps, which was there during the Boer Wars. The Boer Wars in South Africa under the apartheid regime. So when he was fighting Satyagraha in South Africa. So at that time, he had initiated this ambulance corps, which would have Indians with stretchers. They would take wounded soldiers from the war battles and nurse them. So this initiative which was taken there was also highly appreciated. So this is medical diplomacy as such. So we are having such hospitals also we have set up. In Kabul, we have Indira Gandhi Children's Hospital set up, providing assistance to them. Even in Tajikistan, an empty building was remodified into a hospital where people are being served. So these initiatives have been taken. Even in Sri Lanka, Maldives, assistance has been sought and we have provided medical facilities there as well. So this is regarding that. The next news item is Jaipur Foot Fitment Camp in Myanmar. more in the offing. So this is again regarding a medical assistance only. This is Jaipur foot. So this is for people who have amputated legs. So for them, this Jaipur foot has been established, which is very much in demand all across the world, and it has been presently, a camp had been initiated in Myanmar. So this is by Jaipur-based Bhagwan Mahavir Viklang Sahitya Samiti. So they have their presence in 28 countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America. 16 lakh people have benefited, is what they claim. So Jaipur foot is quite famous. So this has presently in this camp in Myanmar has plans to rehabilitate 300 handicapped persons. So these famous artificial limbs will be used on them. Even the some youths in this Myanmar camp presently jumped and squatted before the audience to show how the limbs maneuverability is, means how easily it can be used in daily operations. You can sit, you can jump, it's all possible through this artificial limb. So that is Jaipur foot. Then the next news item is uniform norms for brain death certification soon, says NATO. So this is the apex organization, NATO, for organ and tissue transfer. So this is National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. So it has framed policies on organ transplant donation as such. So this has now planned to frame a uniform guideline on brain death certification. So all doctors in the country can follow this. So they can grant, according to these guidelines, grant brain death certificate, so that then organ transplant can also take place. Means donations, organ donations, tissue donations are possible there. So this will be a standard operating protocol which will be there. So there are norms presently too, but there are gray areas. So these have to be covered up. And in organ donation, India, the private sector is quite ahead of the government sector, which needs to catch up, is also highlighted. So this is the organ tissues which can be donated. So organs, you can see lungs, heart, liver, pancreas, kidney, even small intestine are organs that can be donated. And tissues are cornea, skin, bone, tendons and ligaments, heart valves and veins. So tendons connect a muscle to a bone, and ligaments are tissues which connect a bone to a bone. So these tissues can be donated and transplanted. So this is the NATO. And under it, there are two divisions which have been set up. One is National Human Organ and Tissue Removal and Storage Network, and other is National Biomaterial Center. So tissue and organ removal and storage, this has presently integrated network is being set up in Delhi, and it has to be expanded all over the country. And in National Biomaterial Center too, we have to establish a national level tissue bank, so that all these tissue transplantation activities like procurement, storage, distribution can take place through it. So both of these are mandated under Transplantation of Human Organs Amendment Act of 2011. Then the next news item is helicopter deal takes shape. So this we have discussed on 17th Feb also. Come out to 2060 light utility helicopters. So these light utility helicopters will be produced by a joint venture too. So we will import 60 such helicopters from Russia, and then at least 140 others will be built in India by HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, with technology transfer. So for that, a joint venture has been initiated between HAL and Rosoboron Export and Russian Helicopters of Russia. So this final contract is likely to be signed in 2017. So Russia has said that this will function in the same way as the joint venture for a BrahMos cruise missiles, because BrahMos was jointly developed by India and Russia, and after it's been developed, it has been exported to third countries as well by them. So that's what Russia says, that even come out to 2060 can be exported to third countries as well. So that is the plan. Then the next news item is Aadhaar a must for scholarship. So this is the notification which has come from Human Resource Development Ministry, that Aadhaar will be made mandatory for various scholarship programs for meritorious students. So this is one is the National Means Cum Merit Scholarship Scheme, which was launched in 2008 for class 8 children. So it is basically to arrest school dropouts, to introduce the dropouts. So this 500 rupees per month is provided to the meritorious, means cum merit. So those who don't have the means to, economically weaker sections and meritorious students are provided these scholarships. There are also other 12 scholarship schemes for which again this has been made mandatory that Aadhaar is a must. Then only you can benefit. So these other schemes are there for OBCs, SCs, even semi-nomadic, nomadic tribe children. So these 12 other schemes have been also come under Aadhaar, been mandatory for them. So this UIDAI had intimated to HRD Ministry that the Supreme Court has earlier stayed a particular scheme of West Bengal government that was in September 2016 because it had made Aadhaar mandatory for one of its scholarship schemes. So this was the point. Even the concern was raised that this would result in education suffering, because if Aadhaar made mandatory and those students who don't have, then this scheme cannot be put into effect for them. So that was also a concern raised. But presently in this order, it has been said that the parents and the school would be responsible for ensuring that these children are Aadhaar enrolled. It says the principal would take the child who is a beneficiary and does not have an Aadhaar number to an Aadhaar enrollment center, closest Aadhaar enrollment center, to get enrolled. So this is the case. That the point is that Supreme Court said that Aadhaar made mandatory means you should not exclude beneficiaries just because they don't have Aadhaar. So it's not, if it's not about excluding beneficiaries, because Aadhaar is required, but Aadhaar should not allow somebody to be rejected as a beneficiary. So it means that if a beneficiary is recognized and he does not have Aadhaar, then he should get Aadhaar and then he can become a beneficiary. But it should not be that he did not get the benefits of the scheme just because at that time he did not have Aadhaar. So that has to be taken care of. It works fine. The next news item is Britain's £5 note stays. So this is regarding the £5 plastic note that Britain had released in 2016, and reports came that this note contains polymer which has beef fat. So this agitated the Hindu community there, and even the vegetarians in UK. So a review was held, and the decision which has been taken is that it will not withdraw this £5 note. Even the £10 note has already gone into printing, and it will also be put into the economy soon. So that also is having the same polymer. So this decision it has taken with the reasoning given that the cost involved is around £46 million, which it has spent on printing the first note, which it has to spend on printing the first note again. Then there will be a cost of withdrawing the entire currency from circulation. So that because it's a huge cost involved, it said that this would not be gone ahead with. It says that the public concern has been taken with utmost seriousness, and the new £20 note which will be issued, for that alternatives are being examined. It says that the bank did not know when it signed the contract that animal derived products were present and traces in this polymer. So that is the status presently. So this is the £5 plastic note of UK. The next news item is SEBI may allow mutual funds to trade in commodities. So we have already discussed commodity trading quite often. We'll see it once again too. So this commodity trading is commodity derivatives. So this commodity derivatives, first of all, what does that mean? Is that the value of this derivative, it's a contract. Derivative is basically when considered as a contract, a sheet of paper on which a contract is finalized. So the value of this contract is sold and purchased. Means on the stock exchange, the way stocks, shares are sold and purchased. So shares are what? They can be virtual too, online, or they can be a hard paper as well. So these shares and contracts are sold and purchased, and their value is determined by the underlying commodity. Means value derived from this commodity's value. So like if it's a gold derivative, means whatever be the price of gold will be the price of this derivative contract. So if gold price increases, derivative price also increases. The way shares price increase and decrease, so this derivative price increases and decreases based on the commodities price. So they can be of various commodities. You can see precious metals, other metals, agriculture products like it can be rice, cotton, wheat, anything, energy products like crude oil, etc. So these are commodity derivatives. So commodity derivatives trading on the stock exchange is allowed in the country presently, but only by individuals. And SEBI has planned. SEBI is the regulatory authority for stock exchanges as such. So it has plans to allow institutional investors as well. So the first ones of the institutional investors who would be allowed to participate in commodity derivatives would be mutual funds. So that has been put forth. It may allow mutual funds. The others like banks and foreign portfolio investors. So FIIs, which come into investments into stocks. So these portfolio investors would also be allowed. FPIs would also be allowed. For these two, regulator is in talks with the bank. SEBI is in talks with the RBI. So that means the two regulatory authorities. Since the clash is there, that the RBI is the regulating body for this. So it will plan, if RBI allows these institutional investors to trade in commodity derivatives, and SEBI will also give them permission. So that is on agenda. So this is regarding commodity trading. So it's an investment strategy that you invest in gold, you buy gold and you invest in it, but you have to take the physical commodity and keep with you and safeguard it as well. So rather than having all those hassles, you can, and it's a dead stock. In with the commodity derivative, you can trade. Exchanges can also take place. You can buy and sell. So it's there. And gold as such is not needed to be imported in huge bulk also, as India is a huge importer of gold as well. So like that, and other commodities also, like agricultural commodities, and hoarding takes place. Means if you are speculating, you will hoard it in huge amount. So huge amount of weightage, quantity of these food grains are hoarded. Their prices would rise later. So rather than that, take a derivative, and then their storage, it may rot. So all those concerns can also be there. So rather than that, take a derivative. So the actual commodity is not there anywhere. The value of this derivative is based on that commodity, like that. So that is commodity trading. The next news item is woolly mammoth on the verge of resurrection. So this is the woolly mammoth, which had become extinct around 4,000 years ago. So now scientists are going to resurrect it, means a hybrid embryo will be developed. So embryo means the unborn embryo as such. So this will be done with the help of genetic material from the mammoth, so which has there the frozen genetic material which is there presently, frozen specimen in the Siberian ice. So this would be used along with the Asian elephant's embryo as such, eggs, and it would be developed into a reproduced as such. So this embryo would be developed. So this would result in woolly mammoth coming on the Earth's surface again after these years of extinction. So this is possible through gene editing. So this genetic editing takes place, means the DNA specimen from this frozen Siberian ice specimen would be taken, and this DNA would be inserted in place of the DNA of this Asian elephant. So this DNA gene editing is a technique which is used for this. This is called CRISPR-Cas9. So this technique has been quite successful. It was first demonstrated in 2012, and it has transformed the entire genetic engineering. So it's like cut and paste. So a manipulation of strands of DNA. So this you can see with a precision not seen before. So this is shown here. So this is the DNA. You want to replace this part, you just cut this part, take another one from another specimen, replace it. So this is genetic editing. So DNA editing can take place presently because of this CRISPR-Cas9 technique. So with this, they would establish the gene editing would be done, and this reprogrammed DNA from this woolly mammoth would be placed in a nuclei of a reprogrammed cell, which this nuclei would be placed in elephant's egg cells. So elephant's own genetic material will be removed. So nuclei contains the genetic material. So elephant egg cell will not have its own nuclei, and this reprogrammed nuclei would be placed in the egg cell, and then these eggs would be artificially stimulated to develop into embryos. So this will result in the organism which would be produced through it as a clone or a hybrid embryo. It is, it contains the Asian elephant traits also, and woolly mammoth's nuclei as such content. So this is the plan. It will take around 2 years for this to be accomplished. Of course, these techniques have ethical concerns as well, because what kind of mixing are you doing, and what kind of animal would be reproduced is a huge concern. So this genetic editing also has ethical concerns attached to it as well. The next news item is old car owners to pay toxic charge in London. So London Mayor Sadiq Khan has announced that from October 2017, old polluting vehicles in London will have to pay a toxic charge of £10. So this will apply to all motorists who own vehicles which do not meet the European standards for, on pollution levels. So these are generally the petrol and diesel cars which have been registered before 2006 in UK. So these will have to pay this toxic charge, and this comes in addition to the congestion charge which is already in place in London. So this is a daily £11.5 congestion charge which was introduced in 2003. So this was for reducing congestion, means the vehicles which are entering on the city roads as such have to pay this congestion charge. So that is also there, plus this one more toxic charge would be added. So these are ways to control pollution which have been brought in. The next news item is public gets NASA invites to search for new world. So NASA has this WISE mission, Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer mission. So this is the infrared survey through which this WISE mission clicks images. So these images are converted into brief small movies, and these have been put up on a new website, Backyard Worlds. Planet 9 means we are searching for the planet, 9th planet now. So there are already 8 planets in the solar system. So there may be more planets as well too. To search for them, these images and these videos would be put on the website. So a series of images formed as videos. So people can access this. It's open to public, and they would help to search for possible undiscovered world. So that is the plan, that people would study this, because how can you search for a new planet is that it says the best way to discover them is through a systematic search of moving objects in WISE images. So whether the objects are moving in these images, we have to see whether there are brightness spikes which are associated with star images, or blurry blobs caused by light scattered inside WISE instruments. So what kind of changes are taking place in series of images. Based on that, you can detect a planet, and a new discovery of a planet 9 can take place. And for this, even the participants from public who would help in these discoveries will get credit. So this is the plan of NASA now, inviting people to search for new worlds. So this you can see, WISE. So it maps the sky in infrared light, searching for the nearest and coolest stars, the origin of stellar and planetary systems, and the most luminous galaxies in the universe. So that is what it's searching for. Then the next news item, the last one, is Project Loon can now predict weather systems. This is Project Loon is of Google. So Google has its X Research Lab. So this Google's X Research Lab has produced these balloons. Project Loon actually consists of balloons. So these are a network of huge balloons that can provide internet connectivity to the unreached world. Means regions which are connected with internet are fine, but regions which are unconnected require connectivity, broadband connectivity, and bringing in broadband connectivity will result in a huge cost. So rather than that, the company has undertaken this initiative of having balloons in atmosphere, so they can relay internet. As such, internet can be provided through them. So that is the connectivity network it plans to have. So these balloons float in the stratosphere around 18 kilometers high, but then they are suffering because of the atmospheric conditions and changes. So that is why now researchers in Google have understood a way to predict the atmosphere. So if weather conditions can be predicted, predict the weather conditions. So if the weather conditions can be predicted, then it is possible that the balloon can be shifted. So it can raise, or its altitude can be raised all over, so that it does not get caught in these weather streams and the directions changing, and that is affecting its functioning. So that is why it says a machine learning algorithm has helped Google to predict weather, and enough accuracy is made possible to hover balloons over relatively small areas for a long period of time. So otherwise, balloons, because of atmospheric conditions, it may move from that location, so then it does not become useful for that region as well. So that is why this weather predicting was important, which it has, Google claims it has achieved. So these are the balloons you can see, which are placed in. So these are solar powered high altitude balloons. So then now this you can see the actual image of the balloon as well. So that is it, Project Loon, providing internet facility to remote areas, to rural areas. So that is it. These are the news items. Thank you.